Metaphysical poetry. This is another form of poetry that is popular, and there are certain characteristic features of this poetry that we need to learn before embarking on the poems and the poets. The word means the word meta, particularly if we talk about meta, means after. So the literal translation of metaphysical is after the physical, that is that is beyond physical realm. Metaphysical poetry questions the unconscionable. It is a deviation from naturalness to quaintness. That is the strange thing it shows. They were engaged in unexpected and surprising. It marks a break from the formerly artificial style of their past to one free from poetic diction or convention. And that is why even the modern poet, particularly T.S. Eliot, praised metaphysical poetry and poets, particularly John Donne, for their writing, because their poetry is not a kind of a sing-song, rhyming type of nursery rhyme type of poem, but they try to experiment with a poetic form. The earlier form of the Renaissance, they actually moved away from that, and that is why there is a kind of a quaintness is there, because there is a kind of a deviation from the earlier tradition. Not only that, it's a kind of an intellectual exercise for the reader, because they have imbibed many things in their writing that we are going to learn in it about it. Samuel Johnson first coined the term metaphysical poetry in his book, that is The Lives of the Most Eminent English Poets from 1179 to 1781. John Donne, George Herbert, Richard Crashaw, Andrew Marvell, and Henry Vaughan shared many common characteristics, like the use of conceits, wit, extended metaphors, wordplay, and paradoxes. They are the prominent metaphysical poet, and their poetry reflect these qualities and these features, which are the prominent features of metaphysical poetry. That is conceit, wit, extended metaphor, wordplay, and paradoxes. It is spiritual and religious at times. It is not so that it is always the case that it is a religious and spiritual. It its focus is on love as the union of the soul. So here, union of the divine and the earthly, that is also there. Metaphysical poetry uses metaphors, puns, paradoxes, and meter. It uses scientific, medical, logical words to create argument. This is a very important feature. That is, the diction has changed. They have actually widened their canvas. They have widened their horizon and the landscape of poetry writing, and they have assimilated the words from the different streams of knowledge. And this is also the mark feature of this particular period. Also, that various developments were taking place, for example, in the field of medicine, in the field of sciences, in the field of in life, that's logical thinking. Various philosophers were coming out with their theories, and scientific inventions were also taking place. So they have actually used this term. That is, for example, the heart shake, or my movement is like a trepidation of the earth. So, or I revolve around you like the heavenly body, so on and so forth. They experiment in that way. The use of affection, hyperbole, is common in metaphysical poetry and is used purposefully. This is very important because particularly Dr. Samuel Johnson criticized Donne and the other poet of metaphysical school for their writing, because he thought that he actually criticized them that they are actually poet who are showing their intelligence, and the hyperbole, for example, the famous elegy of the compass and the lover, that Donne has used deliberately. So that is why the word purposefully is very important here. Dramatic realism, they present something as a kind of a drama, and that we consider to be kind of I mean, a dramatic reality they present. It's important feature of the poet's place with remote intellectual ideas, and the drama in the sense, for example, hold your tongue and let me love. So that type of opening line, abrupt line, is also another feature of romantic, not romantic, but metaphysical poetry. Metaphysical conceit are the unique. Conceit, particularly, it's an extended metaphor. It's a far-fetched comparison. Are the unique quality of metaphysical poetry. A conceit is a comparison of two dissimilar things that have very little in common. For example, we have Valediction Forbidding Mourning, that is a famous poem by John Donne. In this poem, he compares the twin soul of the lover to the stiff twin compasses. That a movement of the lover and the beloved, the lover is going away from the beloved, and he is saying that we are together, like the point of the compass. We are united, though we are separated, but still our soul are united. Though I am away, but don't worry about it. We are united. The poet uses all fields of science, nature, etc. for comparison. It is the expression of one's idea and thoughts, the words and figures of speech, in such a manner as to provide pleasure to reader. John Donne is called monarch of wit in the history of metaphysical poetry. Platonic love is another feature of metaphysical poetry. Metaphysical poets were men of high intellect, as I already mentioned, and with the help of their knowledge, they represented new ideas. Metaphysical poetry is loaded with scholarship of its author. The more, I mean, that is why John Donne is considered to be the monarch of it. Metaphysical poetry is considered highly unclear and incomprehensible. As the earlier point we have mentioned, that these poets were men of high intelligence. They use their knowledge of different field in writing their poetry, so that is why it become challenging to it become a kind of an intellectual exercise for the reader as we read the poems of even T.S. Eliot. That's why it becomes highly unclear and incomprehensible due to its high intellect and knowledge, and it is the use of novelty that makes it obscure at times. It is considered to be brief and concise because every line conveys a lot of meaning in a few words. That is epigrammatic, as we have the essays of Bacon, that is studies for serve, for delight, for ornament, and for pleasure. Thank you.